Really
I mean, my man put up 56 last night, and there's no room for that anywhere in our television show other than this here, what they call it, a non sequitur?
That's right, a non sequitur, because as soon as we're done talking about LaMarcus Aldridge, we are done talking about him. But 20 of 33, double overtime win over the Thunder and Russell Westbrook, who was also amazing, by the way.
Yeah, I say all those details. 56, that's all.
56 from a guy I didn't think had that in him.
Now you know.
And now we know. First name, the Rams. Because tomorrow night, the Cowboys head to Los Angeles to take on the favored Rams and Jared Goff, favored by 7 points. Bo, how would another playoff loss change the perception of Sean McVay?
Well, I mean, one thing that is interesting is we have all the love for Sean McVay. We are still waiting for that first Sean McVay playoff win. It has not actually happened yet. Cart's so far ahead of the horse when it comes to this one. I wonder how that would go, though, because now, even though he says he's too young to have a coaching tree, people keep looking for fruit off that bad boy. They keep going for coaches that, because they've been close to him, it will be a heavy dose of ridicule if they lose this game to the Cowboys, because it ain't like he's facing up against a guy we think is a genius. He's up there against Jason Garrett.
I'm not saying that Sean McVay is Bitcoin, because I think he has stronger fundamentals than that, but I do think a lot of people bought some stock that they may regret, because Jared Goff over the last 5 games, Bo, is not the Jared Goff that you may think he is. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 6 fumbles, 9 sacks. The team, the Rams, that he's quarterbacking since week 3 when they beat the Chargers, they're 3-3 against playoff teams, all of those wins coming by single digits. They're not the dominant offensive monster that they were maybe when you last checked in.
Well, I do think that McVay has demonstrated himself, if nothing else, to be a good offensive coach, right?
Totally.
Right? Like, the talent is there. I see why people would say they want more guys who are like him, but there is an echelon of coaches that he simply doesn't belong in right now because he just doesn't have the receipts. And I do remind people, he is the head coach. He is not the offensive coordinator. And even though he handed that all off to Wade Phillips, he and Wade then have to answer for the fact that they got a defense that gives up 5 yards a carry. They got a defense where they brought in Marcus Peters to be a lockdown corner. He's been better than he was earlier this year, but he's not a lockdown corner. Sue was out there looking mighty old. Even with Aaron Donald, that defense is flimsy to a degree. Where's the head coach on that?
Can you imagine, by the way, if the Rams do lose to the Cowboys, just how big of a smile Jason Garrett is going to wear on that face? Jerry Jones will be proclaiming him the new boy genius if Garrett, dude. Did anybody see this even being possible?
No. Well, what happened was this defense got really good. Like, the offense certainly got better in getting Cooper healthy, and where we do have to give the Cowboys credit. They gave up a first-round pick for Amari Cooper, and the question was whether he was good enough for that. Given the changes that happened with that team from his presence, and now suddenly he looks like a number 1 type receiver again, they got that right. Like, that is where they get to look at us and say, hey, we were wiser on this than you guys were. Chris Richard might wind up getting a head coaching job based on the work that he's done with this defense. Like, a lot of what has gone right with this, some of it is acquiring talent, some of it on some level somewhere. The coaching hasn't been so bad, which for me is a lot to say about a coach that I don't think is so good.
Yes, if you are the Jason Garrett stockholder out there, and I was...
And there's one.
And there's one. Is it Dominique Foxworth? I think he might be the one.
No, it's Jerry Jones.
Oh, Jerry Jones. Yes, Jerry Jones, of course, in real life. But in terms of, look, I thought Jason Garrett was the guy in the Cialis commercial. I thought this was temporary, and now he will be the coach of the Cowboys if he wins this game, until he wants to no longer be the coach of the Cowboys.
That is, although Wade Phillips felt that way at one point. They fired him in the middle of the next season. You never know. His name is Antonio Brown. Steelers owner Art Rooney told the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette yesterday that it would be hard to envision Brown as a part of the team when it reports to training camp. So, Pablo, you see any chance Antonio stays a Steeler?
I don't, because let me ask you a question. Do you think a billionaire owner likes being subtweeted? Can we throw up the tweet that Antonio Brown posted after Art Rooney II said that? It's him, the handshake after announcing the contract, and a billionaire owner who is the heir to a franchise that likes stability doesn't want their business out in public like this.
Well, he also doesn't look too happy in that picture for whatever it's worth, and that's the happiest they were going to be, you would think, in the course of that arrangement. The reason I don't think that Brown is going to come back is I don't think he's the sort of dude that responds well to you saying, we don't think you're going to be here anymore. Now, like, there's some people, I think, in these cases where these kinds of things would happen. Somebody would say something like that, and that's to get you straighten up your back and come in here and behave. And maybe, just maybe, I doubt it, that's what the Steelers are saying to them, this with Brown. Brown ain't going to go for that. Like, after you've discussed this and you said it this way, you're going to have to find somebody to take him. Now, the part that might actually be somewhat ingenious about this is that season that Antonio Brown had last year with the numbers that he put up, with some people, though, having some questions about how well he actually played. This is the point at which Bill Belichick would trade a dude like this.
Yes.
Right? A dude in his early 30s, and they don't have the guaranteed money on it. There are people who would make a decision to trade him, and if we felt a certain way about him, we'd be like, yo, this is a wise move to make. So, yeah, part of it probably is about the drama that's come up this year. It also just might be time to move on.
Well, that's kind of the source of the nightmare year that Mike Tomlin has had. And Mike Tomlin said, I don't want to go through this next year. And the reason he's going through it is because you had three egos in Bell and Roethlisberger and Brown, all of whom, as you point out, are officially exiting their primes. But the thing that makes them great, perhaps, their ego, their sense of self, is also the thing that makes them delusional. But the question then becomes, if you're the Steelers, if you're a billionaire, are you rich enough to just be paying $20-some-odd million in dead cap room just to get the headache out?
Yeah, you can do it. You can figure out a way to work that out. They'll do some cat magic. They'll get Roethlisberger on one of those restructures to make it whatever it works. But
man, if he does that.
Look, here's the thing. $20 million of dead cap space. You know what's worse than that? A dead team. Right? Like, if you really believe that this is that level of problem, then you can't worry about the cap space. I doubt it'll wind up being 20 by the time it's done. We've had enough people come and say that there are ways to figure out how to make this trade work, and they can do it. And if they can, he's going to be out of there.
Yeah, and Juju Smith-Schuster, whether or not that team MVP award was passive-aggressive or not, he's ready to replace him right now. Last name. The Eagles. On Sunday, Big Bleep Nick leads Philly into New Orleans. Bo, do you think we're going to see enough Nick Foles sorcery for them to beat the Saints?
Very good question. I do believe that we need to get the Saints up out of here because the Saints playing in the Super Bowl in Atlanta will be a public safety hazard. A whole lot of people going to wind up getting roughed up.
We're going to be there. I don't want to,
Even if I wasn't there, man, I think about things bigger than me, unlike selfish people like you. Now, here's the thing about this game. The last time we saw them play, the Saints beat the Eagles 48-7. Coincidentally, it was the peak of the Saints and it was the bottom for the Eagles. Neither team looks like they did at that point. They look to be a lot closer to one another right now. And where I would worry if I were the Saints was they went and got Dez Bryant because they knew they needed a number 2 receiver. They still don't have that number 2 receiver, obviously, because he got hurt. The playoffs is where that sort of thing matters. You can scheme it up a whole lot better in the regular season around talent than you can in the postseason. Do they have enough outside?
And the postseason is where Big Bleep Nick has been shining because it is weird. It is admittedly weird because I don't think Nick Foles is this good. And by this good, I mean the guy who has the best passer rating in NFL playoff history, the guy who has the best completion percentage in NFL playoff history. Look, he is at the peak of his powers amid all of the randomness of the playoff cauldron, Bo. But what is helpful is that the offensive line, right? You can get on board with the offensive line because they faced Aaron Donald, they faced J.J. Watt, they faced Khalil Mack, 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and all the time in the world for Nick Foles to do the things that he does.
That helped, but why are you acting like he played well last week?
Well, he had...
Why are you acting like... Did he play well last week?
Relatively.
Relative to what?
He had the best QBR of any quarterback last weekend.
Did he play well? Did he play well? Why can't you answer simple questions? Did he play well?
The answer is yes.
Okay. You say he played well.
Yes.
He did not play well. We're going to act like those
Bears defense.
We're going to act like those 2 interceptions didn't happen. I don't care what defense you're playing against. You throw 2 interceptions, we're not going to say that you played well. This is being overstated because of a narrative that you are way too smart to believe in, yet you insisted. Your people didn't pay that money for you to go to Harvard and believe in fairy tales. That's not what the game is. That's not how it works.
There was literally a class that I thought about taking, by the way, called Fairy Tales at Harvard. For the record.
They scored 16 points last week. If they win it, they win it. But we don't have to overstate it's all on the backup quarterback because it makes us feel good.
But he also has been performing. Now, the Saints. The Saints. Drew Brees has not been... the Saints offense hasn't been what we remember either.
No, that's the issue. They are not as good a team as we saw when they played this game the last time in the Superdome. They are not. The defense, though, has been pretty strong. Like, are we at that place now with the Saints where they're going to ask for their defense to carry them through this? Is that what we're going to ask for?
I do love that after Sean Payton brings out all the money, the dudes with the ski masks somehow get to revel in the wonderful metaphorical symmetry of all of that.
Point now that I had thought about that. We got one team showing up with the money and the armed guards and the other team with the ski masks. If the Eagles win this, that ski mask stuff, the internet is going to be a buzz.
And it should be, because all of the concerns we had, can certain people wear ski masks? Guess what? If you win this game, you will always be seeing those ski masks.
Be careful wearing these ski masks, people. I'm just telling some of y'all right now. Some of y'all, not the best idea in the world. All right, coming up next, which quarterback you got this weekend, Patrick Mahomes or Andrew Luck?
Listen to this show through Apple Podcasts. Bomani's too. I've got a podcast. Where's yours, Pablo?
Junior big Celtics, like LaMarcus Aldridge, 56 points that we didn't have time to talk about. We don't have time to talk about y'all getting smoked by the Heat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But by the way, that dunk on Kyrie?
Yes.
Yo, look that up when the show is over.
All right, first quote. I have a big advantage here, that I have a lot of great teammates that can make a lot of plays. Said Patrick Mahomes leading into Kansas City's matchup tomorrow with the Colts. Pablo, do you agree Mahomes has the advantage over Andrew Luck?
If we're thinking of the conventional skill positions, the answer certainly is yes. But that offensive line, Bo, has opened up the Colts by closing down the lanes to the Colts in ways that I didn't expect. In terms of protecting Andrew Luck, they have been tremendous, led by Taekwondo learning friend Quentin Nelson, but also Marlon Mack. Dude ran for 150 yards behind that line against the Texans, who had the best run defense, did similarly against the Cowboys' top 5 run defense. Don't underestimate what they can do.
Who has a better offense?
It's probably the guy with 50 touchdowns.
Okay, that's the answer to the question. There we go. Like, he has the advantage over Andrew Luck in what is around him. Part of why we marvel so much about what is around Andrew Luck is that what had been around him before was so substandard and mediocre. They were like, wow, competent blocking. Way to go. Wow, a good running back who wasn't named Franklin Delano. Isn't this amazing, right? I still think the Chiefs have this. They have this game at home, and I think the game against the Texans left some plays on the field where this game should have been closer than it was. The Colts offense was not the same in the second half as it was in the first. So no, Mahomes is right. He's got the advantages around him. I just say you better win with him if that's what you're talking.
But if we're talking teammates, let's keep in mind the defense also does matter, right? Those guys are on the team too, and yes, the Chiefs have also the worst run defense, by the way, but that Colts defense, number 1 in scoring offense since that 1-5 start, obviously won 10 of 11, but again, Mahomes, 50 touchdowns, I get all that, but the Colts and what they do with disguising man in zone, I saw Dan Orlovsky in the studio talking about that, it's impressive too.
Yes. You ever watch anybody disguise man in zone?
Absolutely not, okay, but that guy made it sound real smart.
Just check it.
Made it sound real smart to me.
You watch your film.
Next quote. Kind of like me. Said Tom Brady about Phil Rivers heading into their matchup Sunday. Bo, I think we agree. Chargers probably more talented. But are you willing to bet against the Patriots at home?
Man, this is tricky because it's not as though we have never seen the Patriots lose a game at home. Now, this run that they've had over basically now almost the last 20 years almost has like 3 or 4 different periods within the era as it goes. But the Chargers are kind of sort of better at everything than the Patriots are. The only reason I think to pick against the Chargers is because that game is in New England. I mean, that's pretty close to being enough. I can't pick a tie.
Of course it's enough. The institution, and yes, they're 19-3 at home since 2001. Haven't lost in the divisional round in 9 years when Mark Sanchez was quarterbacking the Jets, and that somehow happened. But the quote about Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady and the comparison is interesting because over the last 5 weeks, Phil Rivers, 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last 3 games, all under 200 yards passing. This Patriots defense is walking in here playing a lot better than they were at the beginning of the year, too.
Yeah, no, I mean, but the thing I would say about this, and let's all watch this, this will be an interesting part. This is going to be a football game with 2 old quarterbacks playing in the cold. And that cold is harder on those old dudes than it is on the young dudes. This is going to be an interesting thing to watch in this. I would not expect either of them to be at their best in the course of this game. The thing with Tom Brady, what are these guys around him going to do? The guys whose job it is to catch the ball. Do they have enough?
Better hope so.
All right, last quote. The Bengals would like to hire Rams quarterback coach Zach Taylor after Los Angeles season ends. It looks like it is Taylor's job to lose. He is the preferred choice. Tweeted Adam Schefter. Pablo, does this seem wise?
This is the brosmosis, Bo, because you have to wonder if Jared Goff is the guy or Sean McVay is the guy responsible for Jared Goff. All of our questions about Goff aside, what is this guy doing? Like, you got what seems to be the third-ranked bro of Sean McVay. After Matt LaFleur, after Cliff Kingsbury, you got this dude. Are you sure that this dude is actually the real thing, or is he the guy benefiting from the halo effect of the real thing?
Look, man, I have no idea. I don't know anything about him. I do know that he got to be an offensive coordinator at one point because his father-in-law made him the offensive coordinator, and now he seems to be getting this job in part because of who his homeboys are. He might have walked in there and blown them away in the interview. Like, I don't know.
Totally fair.
All I know is this. I'm watching what's going on with Sean McVay here, and I think that Sean McVay needs to start thinking about some things that are bigger than himself. And the way that I see it is that we got a problem in this NFL with hiring and the diversity within those hires. Right? So far, we have nothing but white dudes who have been hired. Maybe the Dolphins hire Chris Richard, but that's it. That's how it goes. We can fix diversity in coaching right now. Hey, Sean McVay, go hire a bunch of black dudes to be your assistant. Everything goes away. You the genius, right? Like, if he's really the genius as he is, it doesn't matter who the coaches are. Come out here with the Soul Patrol. Get all these dudes out here. They hang out with you in 1 year, and then next year, half the league gonna be your black coaches. They ain't never gonna have to answer for this ever again. If he hires a staff that looks like Bruce Arians' staff, he'll fix this off. They will change the name of the Rooney rule to the Mcvay rule if they go ahead and do this.
Imagine Sean McVay walking in, making these announcements, living the change that you describe while wearing a Kangol hat.
That's what I'm saying. Be a genius. The
revolution could be started with him.
He can do it all right there if he wants to. Go ahead and make it happen. Y'all need to all send y'all, forget the Fritz Pollard Alliance. They ain't gonna do nothing for you. The Sean McVay Alliance. Send your resume to him. I bet everything will be taken care of.
By the way, let me come back. The return of White Dante.
Sean McVay gonna get to work and be like, why do I have all these applications from this is Andre? Top row? Jamal's waiting outside?
Today's number, 85. That's how many defensive players voted in a poll by The Athletic that found Kirk Cousins to be the most overrated player and Cam Newton to be the most underrated. What was your reaction to those results?
Well, let me tell you this thing about Kirk Cousins getting the overrated vote, right? Because I don't even know how good anybody actually thinks that Kirk Cousins is. I don't feel like that is the players saying that they believe that Kirk Cousins is overrated.
What are they saying?
They're saying that he believes that he is overpaid at $84 million guaranteed. That's like, that's what that is talking right there with Cam Newton. I don't even know what to say about that one, but I know what that is. They out here like, man, look at all that money that fool made.
No, I love these polls because it gives us data that is rare. It gives us responses. One guy said that, in fact, all quarterbacks are essentially overrated. It's not really any one particular person. It's because we just overrate the positions and its importance. But there's so much resentment here too, right? It's kind of like, who do you think is cool? Who do you like? And yes, who is getting far more than they should get, and therefore far more than I myself am getting?
The only thing is, and I wonder about this, because if it's other quarterbacks, they might feel the same way about Cousins, but Cousins is going to get them all paid, right? Like, he drives the market to a place that'll make it easier for the rest of them to get their money. You know where that money comes from? Out of the pockets of the dudes who vote in polls like this. Right? Like, that's where the money to pay Kirk Cousins is going. It's not going to the rest of these dudes.
Yes, I would love a poll that asks, would you like quarterback salaries to be capped? I'm guessing every defensive player asked would probably vote yes.
I don't know why you say defensive. What, you think the other guys on the offense get happy seeing the quarterback get paid? They would like some of that money too. Ask Le'Veon Bell if he thinks quarterback salary should be capped.
A very fair point. But Cam Newton, it's interesting. Cam Newton was voted both the most underrated and the guy they wouldn't necessarily want to play with, which tells me at the very least they think he's good.
Yes. In closing, shout out to Chine and Mcvay for catching up with an old friend of ours here at High Noon.
What was your welcome to the NBA type of moment?
When CJ dropped me.
There he is.
But it was funny because a couple games later, somebody else on our team got dropped.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when we came to the huddle, I looked at him and I was like, yo, bro, it happens to everybody. We good.
Okay, I'm going to list the nickname and you tell me your thoughts about it. White Dante.
I mean, that's what some of my teammates call me now.
What? So which one's your favorite? Your favorite of all nicknames?
There's a lot of nicknames that people just yell out on the team, but they have the most fun with the White Dante.
White Dante?
So that's fun.
I don't want to hear nothing from y'all out here always complaining why he got to be White Dante. I don't know. Ask White Dante. He seems to understand what's going on here, as does the crew that surrounds him.
Can we find out who's in that crew, by the way? Can the crew reveal themselves to us? Because this is Congratulations, Bo. I mean, this, of all the accomplishments that you have had in your life, I feel like this is up there.
It works, though. And the reason I enjoy this is everybody understands it's good-natured. Everybody understands what the joke is. It's cultural exchange. We handling the earth right now, as my man Raekwon would say.
You think Brooke Lopez is in that crew?
It's a good question.
You should probably look into this.
That is a very good question. Where does Brooke Lopez stand on this one?
This feels like a thing we should probably follow up on at some point.
That is a good question. This is it. Like, we should ask all the guys on the team. We should ask them individually, what do you think of the White Dante nickname? I can see Brooke Lopez taking it a different way.
Do you think Brooke Lopez would enjoy maybe being involved with the music that you're going to produce for White Dante?
That's a good question, perhaps.
In closing, I'd like to show you retired running back Arian Foster triggering the internet on Van Lathan's The Red Pill Podcast. Let's watch.
Pac is my favorite artist of all time. But to pretend that his music was just out of this world, intellectually deep. It's just dishonest. It's just dishonest, man.
Arian, you're like
dishonest.
You're bugging.
He made great music.
Is this early onset CTE?
You see what I'm talking about? That's called an ad hominem.
Yo, I told you about my class about fairy tales at Harvard. There was a class that was literally called Protest Literature from Tom Paine to Tupac. This is a thing that people take seriously, but you seem to be worried about people disagreeing with those people.
I don't care. I don't discuss Tupac in mixed company. It's not worth it. You got to understand, man, you out here talking about music, they out there talking about themselves. Like Tupac, when you argue with people about Tupac, you are not arguing about music, and they will fight you.
I had a Tupac poster, by the way, freshman year.
Highly questionable. Coming up next.
All eyes on me.